Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that. How long you been back, man? I see the girls in the club, they getting wild for me. And all the pretty chicks all wanna smile at me. These rap-
Welcome back. It took me a little bit to put that together this afternoon. P-Dog.
What's up, man?
Hey, we are live. I've started it on the right channel at the right time. We're still missing producer Mike and Curtis fact checker in the background, but the dynamic duo is back. P-Dog, how you doing? How you been?
Not bad, man. Not bad. It's been so hot the last couple of days. I've been biking to work, and maybe not the smartest decision on my part. Super hot. So if you're a runner, I would say a casual runner, or even a long distance runner who's out there 3-4 times a week, just be careful. And here's a hydration tip. It's too late. If you have your first drink of water like 2 minutes before you go running, it's too late. It takes about an hour to get hydrated. So if you're going to drink and stay hydrated, it's got to be an hour before at the very least. Pro tip.
Smart. I was working out today at EPA with Pat Woodcock there, and first time back in the gym for a couple of weeks. It was good. Actually, my strength was up to a point. I felt I was able to push myself pretty good, but he had the garage door open on the back end.
Yeah.
And, that there was no airflow. Like, it was hot. You know, it was one of those, like, you're just kind of, I'm just
stifling
for a cool breath of fresh air kind of thing.
Yeah. Stifling.
But I was sweating, drenched. It was fun. You know, it was good. It was kind of back to old school, and it was a good lift, but it was very, very hot.
You ever seen that ESPN 30 for 30 with Marcus Dupree?
Yeah. Greatest ever was. Or something.
He went to the USFL and blew out his knee, and he could have been a great NFL running back, but he, went where the money was, and then his uncle, quote unquote, I don't even think it was his real uncle, stole all his money, and it was actually a sad story. But the redemption, losing the weight in that hot like trailer that he was working out in, and then getting a sniff with the Rams,
pretty impressive. Yeah,
pretty cool. It's a great story.
Phenomenal documentary.
It's one of my favorites.
What's the coach that basically admitted to ruining his career?
Was it Switzer? Wasn't it Switzer?
Barry Switzer, when he was at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And he said, I tried to be a hard ass. This guy came in, thought he was, king running backs, and he was supposed to be all these things. And Switzer wanted to make sure that he kind of put him in place, bring him down, whatever. And he admits that, hey, he didn't respond well to that. And because of it, he lost his drive a little bit with Oklahoma, and, kind of put him on that sour path, which I think is from a mental standpoint, and Switzer admits to it, that he kind of took the wrong approach with him.
Yep. See that probably happens more often than not, maybe a bit more in the high school level. I mean, for every 5 or 6 really influential great high school coaches, you've always got the 1 or 2 dummies who live in the 70s, right, and yell and scream at kids. And in any sport, right, not just football, but like in any sport, you're going to have. And sometimes in school, it's just a matter of nobody wants to coach. This is all we got. We gotta go with this guy or girl or whatever. And it doesn't work out sometimes. And I've had the misfortune of having a coach I didn't necessarily like. You just, it's a part of the life process, right? You just live it, and yes sir, no sir, and that's it. And
yeah, speaking from personal experience, I had a coach that I didn't like at Colgate. We didn't get along, and he was kind of, I'm just one of those guys that. Nice guy, whatever you want to call it. I didn't respond well to those hard ass kind of coaches, ones that, I don't know, not treating me with respect. That's not sort of the right term, but, gave me compliments, and I was like, I want to play and I want to keep doing better and better for those coaches. I'll do whatever it takes. But the ones that, we're trying to be hard asses all the time, I didn't respond well to. And that was the situation I had at Colgate for me personally. And because of that, you sort of lose a bit of your drive. And again, right or wrong, is it, am I not tough enough because I can't deal with it or whatever? It's just, I was never exposed to it. I was never in the American way where it was, be tough or all that kind of stuff. It was always the other way. So I've learned to respond to what I was given as a child, and that's just sort of the way it was. Anyway,
there's a balance for me. There's a balance between participation medals for every kid, which I don't believe in necessarily.
Right.
But also, if we are adjusting the way we teach kids in school by catering to their learning style, then why can't we do that in sports? Why does it have to be? Well, if this kid's not responding to me calling him a jerk or whatever, then why can't we coach the way the kid's going to respond positively? Like, it just doesn't, like if we could do it in the schools, we should be able to do it on the field or on the basketball court. And I think coaching is,
an education thing to coaches at those kind of levels. And the coach may not be able to do that, but that also separates the real good coaches and the ones who are limited in the development of the players, is because you need to, especially in a sport like football, we talk about the diversity across all the team members of a football team and how big it is. You need to be able to adjust accordingly and make sure that you can adjust to what the kid responds best to. And, it's, I totally agree with you. It should be done. It should be something more of a focus, but, unfortunately it's not always the case.
That's it. Want to give a shout out to my moms.
I'm Lady Gaga, and I would like to wish you a happy birthday.
I just went out and called Lady Gaga to get a quick birthday wish from Marie.
That's great. I'll next when I see my mom next, I'll definitely replay this episode. But anyway, she's turning 76 today, and it's been a long year for my mom with the COVID and being cooped up, and that picture I posted on my Facebook page today with us, that was her last day at work. I mean, 2 months later, we're in COVID. Not that one. Although
it's not that one. It's the only one I did, because the other one I didn't want it to be just us and her. So I want to make it a little bit better here. Although it kind of looks like your head's photoshopped onto a smaller.
It does look like a.
Anyway, I thought it was a better picture that would be
thank you.
fill the screen for.
But there's one of us, you and I and Curtis at her last day at work before she retired. Then 2 months later, she's at home. So she went from like everything to nothing overnight. So anyway, it's been a tough year, but she's hanging in tough. And happy birthday, Mom. We love you. And you've got lots of fans, clearly, certainly
Big
Facebook
time.
things. So yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Guinea pigs for another one. Pep pussy. Bring those up.
Hey, hello. I think Curtis has those.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Jesus. I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Moving on. We got a show today that involves, we're going to talk CFL. We're going to talk a little bit of the Blue Jays, the National Football League, and a little bit of the NBA if we have time for it. So stick around if you're waiting for one of those specific topics.
Like it.
All right. Let's get right into it then.
Yeah.
Let's something else. Let's go into the CFL opening weekend.
Did you watch any?
Painfully, yeah, I did. I watched the Red Blacks and the Elks.
I like it. Their jersey's terrible. They didn't. It's incomplete, but the helmet's nice.
Yeah, it feels like they have like the Velcro like feelers that are on, and they said, "Oh, we're just going to take all these things off." Kurtz brought up a point, and we Googled it, thankfully, that it is the case, because he's like, why did they change the logo, like the helmet, to this, weak-looking elk thing, when the whole point of being called the Elks was to
keep the double E.
Keep the double E. Now, it is still part of their logo repertoire, I guess, but
it's on their pants. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
It's do you know how they have a lot of the teams have the logo just below their belt buckle? Yeah, it's there. So they kept that secondary logo. I like the like Milwaukee Bucks style thing they got going. It's again, if
I didn't like the
one
dance.
word,
wasn't there a dance?
Was there?
The line were doing like the Bullwinkle. Anyway.
Oh no.
No. Yeah, we got to get that.
That's no good. That's no good.
But otherwise, offensively, it was a disgusting display of offenses in that game.
What do you attribute that to?
I attribute that to coaching right now. I think lack of emphasis on the offense. I think timing and stuff is obviously most of the time offenses take a little bit longer to click than defenses. That's just the way it is. In practices, all that kind of stuff, you'd have it, your scrimmages, your ones versus ones, and defense would generally be dominating that initially, especially at the beginning of the season. maybe their off season was just too short. There was no preseason, right? So without any preseason, you don't get the chance to work at a lot of those kinks. There's a ton of new faces.
Yeah.
Right. Guys are just, I mean, even so Kane, Curtis's son, Kane, who's going to be dominant, I think, if he plays football a bit more. He's a big kid and he's running the ball and stuff very well. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. But one of their coaches, I can't remember his name, but he came out to CFI a couple of years ago. He plays for the BC Lions from Ottawa U and stuff, but he was out there. I said, what's he doing here? I guess, again, another guy, casualty of COVID, where he's just like, I dropped 60 pounds. I got a real job. It's time to get on with my life kind of thing. And that's what I think we're seeing a lot of across the league. That, and then also add some injuries and stuff. I just think it's a matter of having enough time to come together, learn a playbook, be on the same page. And I think that's where we're seeing the product on the field is really subpar right now.
Yeah, I can speak on. I did watch a little bit of that Red Blacks game, and it was not good. It was the what was that DB for Abdul Kane? Is that the guy for? He was all over the place.
It was his show.
I watched the Saskatchewan Roughriders BC Lions game, which was really bizarre. Saskatchewan looked like they were just didn't miss a beat. It was 28-0 after the first quarter. The game finished 32-29. So they scored 4 points in the second half. BC came back, but it was weird. So they start the game with their backup, and Mike Riley sitting on the bench with his what is that?
That's the Blue Jays Score Cup. So I have it going. The Blue Jay games are playing right now, so the Jays have just scored.
Oh, they're playing a doubleheader. That's right. They're playing a doubleheader today. That's right. So yeah, Saskatchewan, came out blazing, and then Mike Riley didn't start the game, and nobody really knew. The commentators didn't know. They were making some comments about why isn't he in the game. He ended up coming into the second half, but he couldn't throw. He couldn't throw past 15-20 yards. The ball would just be a duck. So he clearly was hurt.
Spiral. Yeah,
couldn't throw a spiral. Something was off. So anyway, he's a warrior though. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. He's also one of the highest paid, I believe, in the CFL.
Yeah, I think he was getting like $700,000.
Yeah, so he's getting paid to do what he's doing, but it was an entertaining game, but sloppy, and I think the lack of preseason games, like a really live action that's not against your team, in pads and no pants or whatever. I really felt like that had an effect on the quality of the CFL this opening weekend. So hopefully it gets a little bit better. I don't think I caught any of the Argos Stampeders game. What was the score of that bad boy?
I don't know. Do we have our fact checker? No, I can't remember. Okay, I didn't even know it for me to watch it.
It wasn't very entertaining. I watched a couple of snaps, and again, it was like 16-10 for a long period of time in that game. And the CFL, they promote lots of scoring, high offense, like lots of passing. When you're running a game that's 16-10, that tells me that there's a hell of a lot of punts. So anyway. All that to say,
the Hamilton game was a low-scoring game too, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it for sure was. So I think all in all, guys are getting their feel. Like you say, lots of retirements. I think we'll see a better quality game or stack of games this upcoming weekend. So hang in there, Red Blacks fans. I'm looking forward to actually going to a game. It's going to be exciting.
Well, that's what everybody's looking forward to, is getting out, being around people, and then the product on the field. It has been secondary, but we've been pretty lucky with what's been on the field. I think this year might be a little bit tougher to go, but that may be across the league. I'm also, because fact checker Curtis is not in and producer Mike, I'm not only producing, but I'm going to fact check it. And the Blue Bombers beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats 19-6. Again, nothing super special there. And then the Toronto-Calgary game was 23-20 for the Argonauts.
Argonauts came on the road. Big win. Lauren Goldenberg's going to be thrilled about that.
He is going to be thrilled. So
that's
there
his team.
10 points in the fourth quarter to win that.
And it was Bethel Thompson.
Second field goal.
I thought it was Arbuckle that was going to play for them, but they're rolling with Bethel Thompson, McLeod Bethel Thompson, under center for the Toronto Argonauts. So good for them.
Names can we get into one kid's name?
It's great, eh?
Yeah.
Anyway, should be a good stack of games this upcoming weekend. So I'm just happy it's back, to be honest with you.
We got BC at Calgary, Toronto at Winnipeg, Montreal at the Edmonton Elks, and Hamilton at Saskatchewan. So the Red Blacks are on a bye next week.
So why wouldn't Ottawa take advantage of the opportunity if they're going to throw in a third jersey? Why wouldn't they make that red jersey a little more plaid, Like they have the accents on the white jersey. There's an opportunity here that would have sold like hotcakes. You know, they came out with a jersey that they never even launched on the field, and it sold out. So why wouldn't you do that? I mean, I like the plaid idea. I like the lumberjack, the red blacks, the wood, cutting the wood when there's a touchdown. Like you've got a marketable entity there, and you blew it. And like you said, their reds look like the Calgary Stampeders. I couldn't tell them off the field who's who.
No, way too many similarities between them and Saskatchewan and Calgary for it to be even noticeable.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. The lumberjack is a marketing tool that they have created,
capitalized on
successfully, and I think everybody's bought in.
Yeah.
So why not cater to that? It doesn't make any sense.
Sure. I mean, the whole idea of being called the Red Blacks, and you know, the Voyageur was one of the names that was like one of the finalists. Is that we're in a part of the country where like logging was a big thing, and I'm not a historian. I'm not even going to go there. But they had to, if you go into a cold game, a snowy game in at Frank Clair or whatever it's called now, TD Place, half the crowd is wearing red plaid, like lumberjack stuff. You've succeeded in marketing. Now you're failing to capitalize, as far as I'm concerned.
First measure of success in marketing is not choosing that other name, Voyageur.
Les Voyageurs.
Imagine that. Ottawa Voyageur versus the Edmonton Elks.
I like the Elks.
You know what?
It works for me. Apparently, the elk is big in that.
Emphasize the S because it's grammatically, I think, wrong, but they got permission to do it, or there's whatever it works in that thing. But anyway,
I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it.
I don't.
But if you're a fan and you're watching the Edmonton Elks next time and they're wearing the green jersey, you'll notice there's a noticeable omission. There's nothing on the shoulders. It's just like it goes number on the chest and nothing except a couple of stripes on the sleeve. I don't think there's any other team in football that has that. At least they've got at least their number on the shoulder, or at least a secondary logo or something. It looks incomplete. It looks rushed. They could have done a better job. Look, I need to work in marketing for the CFL. Clearly.
All right, moving on. Blue Jays, let's play ball. I feel like if you worked for marketing, all the hats would be like crooked on purpose. Like you couldn't get it to fit great if you wanted to. Ooh, speaking of, shout out to Steve in Mega City Promotions. He sent me a picture. I don't have it. I should have uploaded it. They make these leather patches now.
Okay.
They've got a machine for it. Anyway, sent me this picture of a black hat, and it's got this almost like a little bit diamond-y, but not really logo, and with just the mic and the 2 stars in leather on this black hat. Anyway, it looks really good. So he's been screwing around with that, and just something else that well, when I get it, I'll throw it on, and he's working on our page so people can order stuff directly. But he's got a lot of stuff to do. Yeah, very cool.
Anytime you've got leather, it's the excitement level goes up like I think 5 to 10 decibels or whatever. It's just leather's a marketable.
The Adult Fun Superstore. No.
we're not quite there yet.
No.
All right. Blue Jays. The Blue Jays return to the Dome and have been, I think they lost one game in one. They went 8-1. You know, they swept the Royals
against the Sox in that game.
Oh, they must have lost 2 games. They lost one to the Indians and one to the Sox. Right. But they swept the Royals. So, you know, big series win against the Sox, you know, winning that series 3-1. Had they left with a split, I think it would have left everybody with a bit of a same old Jays. You know, they couple of great games and a couple of stinkers. So we saw some positivity there. Clearly, George Springer is making a huge difference. He's got 14 home runs and 35 RBIs since the All-Star break. So he's clearly a difference maker and worth every penny as far as I'm concerned.
Defensive plays.
Yeah.
Multiple defensive plays that have stood out that, you know, were Kevin Pillar-ish back in the day.
So I want to talk about the lineup a little bit. And again, we're in a position where we could be a little nitpicky. We're not Charlie Montoyo. We don't have a finger on the pulse of the team in the dugout. I get all that. But from an outsider's perspective, Vladdy was rolling in the 3 spot. I mean, home runs, RBIs, big hits, not leaving anybody on base, taking advantage of every situation. And then Montoyo flips him to number 2 and moves Bo down. And you have to wonder if he did that to get Bo going. I don't really know. Maybe the lineup just needed a spark because they were kind of treading water there for a few games before they got to the Dome. It's worked out incredibly well for the team overall. Bo is playing outstanding baseball. Defensively and offensively, he's on a tear. Springer is your leadoff guy, no doubt. Semien, I feel like you could put him anywhere and he's going to do his thing. I think Simeon's that wild card where it's like, look, he could play 2, he could hit 3, he could hit 4, whatever you want him to do. But I think Vladdy, you kind of messed up his groove by moving him up a spot when he was doing so well where he was. Again, I'm being nitpicky. What are your thoughts on a move like that, where it's not a lineup breaking move, but it's affected him clearly?
You think moving up a spot or 2 spots or where you are in the lineup, ultimately they want to get him at bat more often. I get it. Is it the situation that he thrives on in terms of maybe having guys on base more often if he's down in the 3 or 4 spot? Is that what sort of gets him there? I find it hard to believe that with his approach at the plate and his mindset of the game, that something like that, something that small would affect him to a point where he can't hit the ball. I think it's just naturally going to be, he's going to go through a slump. He's been so hot. There is no other way to go other than take a little bit of a slump. And for him, hopefully the slump is extremely short.
Well, he hit a home run last game. So, I mean.
Oh, there you go. Like he's been on such a tear. I don't think that, I look at Vladdy and I just don't think that he's a guy that, or at least my feeling is he's not a guy that gets affected by those little changes. I think he's pretty adaptable and is just going out there with the approach. He's smart enough at the plate. I think it's just, he just had a couple of off ones. Maybe, you know, like after the Springer home run, oh, you're pretty jacked up and whatever, you got the lead, you start maybe thinking, like, hey, it's already 2 outs. You know, you start thinking of the defense and let's make sure we come in and close this game off. And I think he swung on 3 pitches, or it was 3 straight strikes, I think is what got him out. Anyway, it could be anything at that point, but I just don't think that he's affected by those minute changes.
And, you know, it's new age baseball. Like when I think about the teams of the past, your 1-2 guys are, you know, high contact guys with speed. And you want your 1-2 guys on base for your sluggers to knock them in. It doesn't have to be a home run, but you know they're going to get the bat on the ball. And, you know, when you're hitting 3 and 4, you don't necessarily have to turn on the burners right off the gate. You know, you've got guys in front of you who are running. If you get to first, second, you're happy. When you're hitting second, especially if your leadoff guy doesn't get on, suddenly there's pressure to do something, right? There's nobody on base, so I gotta get on base. I gotta get a double. I gotta get in scoring position. So that if it's a little bit of a different mindset as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know if that's Vladdy's thing. I don't know if Vladdy should have to be worrying about that. He's playing all-world first base right now. He was the slugger for the first 3 months of the season, you know, and now I think his mindset's changed a bit to where he's trying to hit Oppo. And, you know, and he's doing it. I mean, it's not that he's not doing it. Look, his slump is other players' best year. So, I mean, you know, I have to put it in perspective. But I don't know. I didn't like the move. I think Bo's better at second. Bo's going to hit. Bo's just a hitter. Bo's going to try and hit everything in sight no matter what. I think he's better suited for the 2, even Semien. But, again, I'm being nitpicky. They had a great homestand, which leads me to my next question to you, the Dome effect. I didn't realize just how much of an effect this playing on the road has had until I think it was Buck and Tabby, or it might have been Dan Shulman one of them mentioned that like most of the time when they were playing in Buffalo, they felt on the road, especially when the New York teams came to town. Half the crowd was cheering for the Yankees or Mets or the Red Sox even. So they felt like they've been on the road for basically a season and a half. Do you think that these guys are affected by the positivity in the crowd and the cheering behind them? Do you think it's had that much of an effect on them?
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I think that just shows within the big opening day home ceremony and event that they kind of started the game off, their first home game, and you can see the emotions from Charlie and with Bichette and all those guys. And it's a I guess it's bigger than I had initially thought. So if you'd asked me this before they went back to Toronto, I would have said, a lot of them are young guys. They don't probably have homes in Toronto anyway. They might be out of hotels or a temporary location. So does it actually feel like home? I guess in terms of outside the ballpark. But when you're playing and you feel that energy and you watch games in different locations, great. There is a distinct sound to the Sky Dome when the crowd erupts. I find it's very distinct, and I think that the players are feeding off of that. Now, it's just going to magnify after they go through something like what Springer did in terms of the eighth and hitting that 3-run shot and stuff like that. It's crazy. I think that's going to be huge for them as well. They just get the goosebumps, all the excitement, and it's been phenomenal. Shout out to Christian Couture, who's watching us from Cleveland. The show is going global. I don't know why he's in Cleveland though.
Well, you trying out for the Cavaliers there, Chris, or what's going on, bud?
Might as well.
Tight end for the Cleveland Browns.
The Brownies.
All right. Well, shout out to you, pal. Thanks for tuning in all the way across the Ohio. Well, I don't know. There's a few rivers. Anyway. Hey, here's a fun fact for you, Chris. The most polluted river in the entire world is in Cleveland. Did you know that?
Of course.
This river's so polluted. Now, if you think of a river, you think of water. This river's so polluted, it caught fire in the 70s. A water caught fire in the 70s. I mean, only in Cleveland. Only in Cleveland.
Only a Pittsburgh fan would know that.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. Hey, Dome effect for me. What can I say? When you say about this, the city of Toronto and its players and the attachment to the community, all I could say is this: it must have been Roy Halladay's second or third last year. It might have been 2007, 2008. I was at a fitness conference and I had a class at 7 a.m. I step out of the Dome, I was staying at the Renaissance, and I stepped out, go for breakfast, and who do I see running down the street? Roy Halladay, and he's huge, right? Like he's your height for sure, if not taller. He's huge, imposing figure, but like jogging. He's jogging 7:30 in the morning. He's in his Blue Jays gear. At the time, it wasn't the blue and white. It was like the black and whatever they was wearing. But he was in his Blue Jays gear, like dry fit stuff. And I stopped and I gawked at him because I was like, and he kind of smirked at me. I'm like, hey, you're Roy Halladay. Like, stupid, right? Like, I don't even know him. And he said, yeah, have yourself a great day, sir. And I'm like, you too. And it was cool. But he was connected with the city at 7:30 in the morning. He's feeling free enough to jog around. I don't know if there are too many American cities, Chicago, New York, where you're going to get up 7:30 in the morning and run downtown as a millionaire. I mean, it's dangerous stuff. So that to me said it all about the connection to the community. And Roy always said Toronto was a great city to play and live in, and the people were great. So,
well, I got to say, I mean, Toronto has been a really good city to all these players. I think Canada has embraced them. Yep. Some of the cities aren't too bad. I know you talk New York and stuff like that, but I was in Boston for Toronto, Boston. We were down there with my dad, Curtis and Jules, down there for it. And I had my Blue Jay, and it was probably the old Roy Halladay style one, that like cursive one, super ugly. It was like $5 or something. I had $4. Anyway, put it on, got my Jays hat. And I was in McDonald's ordering food in line to, stuff my face full of junk food. And somebody said, oh, hey, are you a Blue Jay player? That's awesome. They're very welcoming. And I said, yeah, I'm definitely a Blue Jay player. Could you give me to order my Big Mac combo half an hour before the game starts? Thanks.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna eat 8,000 calories before I step out on the field there.
Yeah. Game time's at what, 20 minutes? Yeah, okay. Can we hurry up with my order? Thanks.
That's amazing. Back on the field, Brock. They made some moves before the deadline. This is how long you and I have been on the air, or haven't been on the air. The deadline came and went. There was a lot of speculation, and I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna give Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro an A+. And why? because they picked up Jose Barrios from the Twins. You got to give to get, right? They gave up Simeon Woods Richardson, who's still, I mean, he hasn't even surpassed some of his peers yet. Same thing with Austin Martin, who looks like a nice player, but he hasn't even passed Groshans and Kevin Smith and some of these guys that are in the minors. So you gave up 2 really high-level prospects for an ace. And that ace is under team control for next year, too. So you've got a year and a half to really sell him on Toronto. He's pitched really well, his 2 starts with Toronto already. They needed a right-handed starter to complement Ray and Ryu. I mean, what a perfect addition.
He's been phenomenal. I mean, all the guys are coming in with a renewed enthusiasm. I think the nucleus of the Blue Jay team brings a lot of excitement to the locker room and are very welcoming to all other players. As soon as you kind of become part of that team, you're part of that family. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of shows how quickly guys assimilate within the team, given they've only been there for a couple weeks at this point, and they're already, they're secret handshakes after home runs, and they're looking like a team that's worked together in the outfield and on the infield. Even the lineup for Game 4. I mean, you didn't have Bichette, Biggio. They're staples on your infield. You don't even have these guys in your lineup at that point against a team like the Red Sox. Game 4, again, you're either splitting or you're taking a 3-1, which is a big difference when it comes to standings. So Charlie has confidence of playing all these guys. Dickerson, I thought, played awesome. Mm-hmm. Even Reese McGuire behind the plate, I thought played awesome this series and is starting to sort of come to his own defensively. He had one of those innings that I was just like, that's phenomenal. Like his baseball IQ was there when he dove to keep that foul ball from turning back into fair territory. Stuff like that. It was nice to see a catcher make a positive impact over and over within a game, not just a one play thing, but actually somebody who seems to be maybe poised to take that spot, that starting role, and say, this is our guy. Because he came through a clutch walk. That's not an easy ball to stay off of, too, for ball 4 that led to the Springer home run. Yep. So, maybe he's getting that confidence up, too.
Yep. None of those catchers have stepped up to the plate to, no pun intended, to seize the opportunity. They haven't. He's really the only one that's come in and said, okay, you know what? There's an opportunity here. I'll focus on my catching. He's catching good games. He's calling good games. And his bats, he's doing just enough with his bat to say, you know what? How do you not put him in the lineup unless it's a lefty? Unless they're facing a lefty. Alejandro Kirk has shown me nothing. I was really excited about him this year. He's really shown me zero, and he's unfit, literally. And Danny Jansen can't stay healthy. So I liked the platoon of McGuire and Jansen because it's a righty lefty, and both of these guys have a little bit of size behind the plate. They catch a good game. Alejandro Kirk's got to lose this catching off one knee stuff. Like, it doesn't work. You one bad pitch, one pitch in the dirt, and you're out of position. So
that's across the league. Guys are doing it all over the place, which I don't understand. But
they're trying to save themselves. I mean, it's a hard position to be, and that's it takes a little bit of stress off your body, but it doesn't work for me. Alejandro Kirk is definitely falling down the pecking order there, I think. The MLB is funny like that. They have their trade deadline, and then the deadline passes, and then all of a sudden you start seeing some other quote unquote trades happen. And I never really understood what it is, but we could see the Jays make a play for an available trade deadline is gone. And please don't ask me what it is that the MLB does, but I think it's that one sport where after the deadline goes, you still see some transactions happening. Do you have any info on that? Do you know what I'm talking about, though?
I do know what you're talking about now that you say it, but it's not a hard deadline. So I don't know if that. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure.
I mean, I could see that they addressed everything we talked about in the offseason. Left-handed power bat. Dickerson is that guy. He's better than Joe Panik. Like, flat out, he's better than Joe Panik. The fact that they got him and Adam Simber, who leads the majors in ERA from the bullpen, for Joe Panik, and I think there was a cash considerations and maybe another minor league player. I mean, that in itself was a great deal. Plus, they picked up Trevor Richards, Brad Hand, who was Washington's closer, Joaquim Soria, who's a little bit older, but he's got some experience. He kind of comes in like Grilly did that one year. Got some experience stepping in on those high leverage situations. I mean, but for me, picking up Barrios just it makes your rotation almost perfect. Ryu, Barrios, Ray, Manoah. I don't care who you put in the 5 spot. You could put Mats. They can have a 6-man rotation with Mats and Stripling. That's fine. But your top 4 are the best in the AL, or at least top 5. You couldn't find me a better rotation. So just on that acquisition alone, I give them an A+. An incredible job picking him up. And yeah, I mean, like I say, you got to give to get. I mean, you got to give to get. And Austin Martin could turn out to be a great player. It could turn out to be another Bo Bichette, or not. We don't know. It's such a crapshoot with MLB when it comes to their prospects. So I'm really happy with that. Do you have any area concerns that still bother you with the Jays? Outside of I'm not sure, but catcher, you seem to be happy with Reese McGuire. But like generally with their play overall defensively and offensively, is there anything that still concerns you?
Gurriel still concerns me in the field a little bit.
I saw him make a one play there where he kind of lackadaisical through it.
Yeah, I think he was trying to bait the guy to go home so that he can use his arm to get him.
Yeah.
Which again, he makes the play. I think, okay, that's a great play. You're a stud. You don't make the play or the throws offline, which I've always said, yes, they're professionals, but you got to be so bang, bang and right on and force the play. So from a base running standpoint and an aggressiveness standpoint, I think the Jays are doing a lot better from a coaching perspective of saying, let's steal them. So you got Vladdy stealing, you got Bichette stealing, you have guys that are Simeon's going, like they're pushing the envelope a little bit. Now it might have been a situational thing given I think the Red Sox pitcher has a bit of a slow delivery home, but that's the kind of stuff I wanted to see. And they were down at that point. So I saw it in the game 1 where they were just rolling and they're just like, hey, we're just running home and we're going to continue to run home. We put up like 16 points. But in a game where they were down a certain amount of runs, they were being a bit more aggressive, which is the thing that I've knocked them on for the longest time. You need to push the envelope and make that team defend against us as opposed to conceding and assuming that the professionals are going to make all these plays all the time. You got to push the envelope. And I think that's where they're starting to get a little bit better at. I think the speed is there from a base running. So I'm happy with that. I think defensively, overall, I think they're pretty good. They're pretty set. Vladdy's phenomenal at first. There was any question marks before. He's made some wicked plays. His glove is very good. He catches the ones off the turf. Springer in center solidifies that outfield. I think Gurriel's the biggest question mark for me from a defensive standpoint. Other than catcher, hopefully Reese can sort of solidify his.
He's catching a good game.
He's catching a great game.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
That relationship with his pitchers and all that is going to be what we need moving forward. So provided everybody stays healthy and our pitching can kind of reuse outing, didn't look that great. But that's just par for the course. You're going to have pitchers go through those sort of slumps. But ultimately, the Jays, I'm excited for the rest of the season and see where they go, because I think that exactly what we said. I think they get kudos for all the moves they made. And I think now everybody's kind of excited for the next. It's almost like a refreshment for them to be at home and to start the second half of the season, say, hey, we're still in it and let's go.
No doubt.
The excitement's there. So Canada should be pretty excited for the next second half of this season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for me, they're like everything you mentioned is just bang on. I'd say, they're still getting caught. They're getting picked off way too much. I guess it's an aggression thing, right? You want a big lead off. And so that I find themselves getting like in their big pickoffs with nobody out, when you're at second, like it's stupid. And, the throw that you're referring to with Gurriel and trying to bait the guy, like this isn't the minors. It's not going to work. You play the percentages, get the ball in, don't let the runners advance. And that to me, if the Jays do that, they have enough offense to overcome anything. But if they start giving up runs because they're being stupid, basically, then it's going to cost them. And they can't afford it. The AL East is and always will be and was like it's so challenging to compete in the AL East. It just is. You hope the Rays take a step back one day so you only have 2 teams to leapfrog. But with the Rays being consistently good for the last decade, you're leapfrogging 3 teams just to be competitive. And that's not to say the Orioles, who have a really great minor league system right now, aren't going to come back and be relevant next year. So the Jays need to seize the opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Take advantage of what they've done, what they've got going, and roll with it. And Charlie's got to get the boys, a little tighter on the bases. Enough with the pickoffs. I mean, that is just inexcusable. No, as a former baseball player, isn't that not the worst thing to get picked off?
It is, but
caught stealing is one thing, but picked off, come on.
Some of those were, I mean, the second baseman wasn't even near the base initially, so you're kind of playing that aggressive. Hey, any hit, I'm going to go, and then he makes that move without anybody on base, which is kind of a sketchy move because you don't have to throw it to second either. So you have that move. It's kind of a dirty one for base runners. If he's at first and he, makes a move to first, you got to throw to first. Same with third, but second you don't. Anyway, so I think you just kind of, and it was Dickerson, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, but you're a guy, you're new, you're on base, you had a good hit, you brought some guys in, you I don't know. Sometimes I think you can get a little excited, and you talk about the dome and all the fans, all that kind of stuff. Look, I just attribute to some excitement. Those are things that you address and you say, you know what, for future, let's make sure we're on the same page and not let it happen in a game that's got a lot more meaning and a lot more pressure than the one that they were in.
Well, I'm looking forward to the last quarter of this season, and we'll see what kind of damage the Jays can do in the AL East and in the wild card. I think they're only a couple of games out of the wild card now, so it's a hot race. So looking forward to seeing what happens. It's time to talk a little pigskin B, the NFL.
Sorry, that was a little
sure. quick trigger there, buddy. The NFL Hall of Fame game was last weekend, and we had the Pittsburgh Steelers defeating the Dallas Cowboys 16-3. It doesn't mean anything, but you had a chance to have a look at some guys. Najee Harris got some run in the first quarter. Dwayne Haskins, I think, has supplanted Mason Rudolph as the backup in Pittsburgh, and that's a big deal when you're starting quarterbacks 39 and injury prone. It's a big deal for a team like Pittsburgh to have a competent backup. So Haskins is big. He was rolling out. I was kind of impressed with Matt Canada's offense. There's a lot of movement. I'm sure they barely threw anything at Dallas, but I mean it's interesting. Definitely different than Randy Fichtner's offense. On Dallas' side, that kid Micah Parsons was all over the field.
He's going to be a beast.
He is going to be a beast. Dallas has got something special there. So it's interesting. Again, meant nothing. It's just fun to see football back on the field. I will say this, though. The Hall of Fame speeches, Brock, I don't know if you saw any of them. The ones I saw were, for the first time in watching these speeches for years, they seemed so scripted. And I know they're pressed for time. They put an emphasis on guys not taking too long because they had to condense the 2020 and 2021 classes in one weekend. So they were pressed for time, I guess. I don't know. But the guys just went right from like my childhood, bless my parents, love my teammates, bless God, he's the reason why I'm here. Goodbye. And every guy went that route. And for me, it's an opportunity to tell some stories, or a story or two, like a fun story about players, like kind of like on a podcast, but like it's your opportunity to really like go out with a bang. And these guys went out biblical. It was really bizarre, except for Charles Woodson. I loved his speech, not because he was crying the whole time, but because he was passionate and he was like shooting from the heart. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Some little tidbits in the background too of stories that we wouldn't know the story, but he was talking about buddies and stuff and scraps and things they go through and tattoos and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting.
Like Bill Cowher didn't mention. I don't even think he mentioned a single player or a coach. He just it was all generic. My players, my coaches, my colleagues. It's like, name somebody. Give me a name. You mentioned Chuck Noll. You supplanted arguably the greatest coach of all time. You don't bring him up. Like it just seems so bizarre. It was so bizarre. And again,
Cordell Stewart on the sidelines, but you can't bring up his name in a Hall of Fame speech.
Come on,
what are you doing?
Please don't put Cordell Stewart and Chuck Noll in the same breath. God.
Steelers, all in the same breath.
Anyway, what can I say? It's fun to see these guys. Alan Faneca, a guy I think you can really respect because he was a big man playing football, and then once he retired, he shed a ton of weight. He's a long distance marathon runner. He's a half the man he was. Really cool to see him talk about his journey after football. And did you watch Calvin Johnson's speech?
No, the only one I've seen is some of Charles Woodson's right now. But Calvin Johnson. I want to see the Peyton Manning.
I won't tell you exactly everything he said, but basically he started off saying, "I played my whole career in pain, and it's a miracle I lasted as long as I did." So it kind of put. If nobody knew his story, I didn't know. I had no idea he had a back pain so debilitating after his first year that he should have retired. I guess he filled his body up with so much. Now he's a catalyst, a leader for medicinal marijuana, that kind of thing, to deal with pain. So I had no idea. That was the one thing I learned from his speech, but pretty interesting stuff. Can you relate playing football for as long as you did to what it could potentially do to a guy and chronic pain and back pain and all the little nagging injuries that these guys live their second half of their lives with?
I mean, I'm facing with some of it now. I was very fortunate in terms of injuries. I think, mine were a bit more head related. So that was something I deal with sort of on a daily basis, not very severe at this point, but, every time you get headaches and stuff, you wonder what it's from, what's causing it, that kind of things. But I've been pretty fortunate from an injury standpoint of being able to walk away from the game fairly healthy. Most of my injuries came from playing, men's league sports after football, where I'm not warming up nearly enough and not training for anything. And, but going out there and trying to play at the abilities to the level that I'm used to playing and the competitive level I'm used to playing without all the prep work. So those are when I got in trouble. When you talk Megatron real quick, I'm going to ask you something. Is he the best receiver ever who never had really a great quarterback? Like when you think of all the other receivers, can you be a great receiver without a great quarterback throwing you the ball? Megatron's the only guy I can think of who didn't have potentially a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback at some point in his career throwing in the ball.
Well, it depends how you rank Matt Stafford. I mean, it depends where you put him in the class. I'm probably the minority. I'm not a huge Stafford guy. I think he's got some quirks, like he's able to throw sidearm in different angles. He's got a little Brett Favre in him, a little gunslinger. I like Matt Stafford, but is he elite? We'll know if he's elite this year. As far as I'm concerned, we'll know who this kid is. Is it the Detroit curse, or is it the kid just not
there
a
are no
quarterback?
Excuses moving forward from there.
They got a good O-line there. They got a good running game. They got some good receivers. We'll see what kind of guy Matt Stafford
creative
is
offensive mind at the helm.
So we'll see. So to answer your question, what he did under those circumstances, and again, now hearing his speech and knowing what he did under all that pain, I mean, I have a whole new respect for him. He didn't play long enough for me to put him super duper elite, but then again, you could say the same thing about Barry Sanders. So I don't know. I mean, I look at a guy like Hines Ward, who, he caught 100 balls every year, but he knocked guys out every running play. He was like a tight end. I'd like to see more receivers have a bit more complete game, and Megatron's up there with Larry Fitzgerald as far as I'm concerned as greatest receivers. Some of the catches he's made, oh my God, like the leaping catches in traffic. It feels like every highlight you see of Calvin Johnson is not like a post play. It's on 3 or 4 guys. So amazing career. I think you need an elite quarterback to be to play for as long as Jerry Rice played.
Right.
So, I mean, at some point, Calvin's going to be like, look, this isn't, I'm going to retire. And he wanted to trade. I think the option was get me out of here or I'm going to retire. And he chose retirement. So what does that tell you about how he felt about the organization and the quarterback that he had? If he played 5-6 more years, my God, what would he have done?
There's there's bad blood between the Lions organization, or I guess Megatron with the Lions organization. So, I can't remember exactly all the backstory, but there is, there's no love lost between him and the organization. So I think it came down to one of those, I'm not playing here anymore. But I mean, he was probably the first real big body. Like Moss is long, tall, but Calvin had some substance to him. Like he was a big, muscular man playing wide receiver.
Was like Calvin more like Terrell Owens, you think?
I would say he's in that boat.
Yeah.
Big Julio Jones.
Yeah. Those receivers are like they're rare. They're hard to find. I think, you know what, as I get older, I never liked Terrell Owens' attitude, period. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's nothing anyone can say, oh, yeah, you know. Terrell Owens has to be one of the freakiest players, though. Speed, size, decent hands. Like when I say size, I mean this guy was muscle. Right. To be able to stretch and run and not rip every muscle off the tendon or off the bone. At that size is remarkable stuff. And he was healthy. I mean, he took a beating, right? So Megatron is up there for me when it comes to that. I find those guys remarkable. Those unicorns, man. Those guys that are like, you're taking a beating, you're getting up and you're doing it again week after week. Yeah, so he's up there for me. But anyway, that was the Hall of Fame for me. It was a collection of awkward speeches, and I really expected more. But anyway, it was good. I always get goosebumps watching some of the guys I used to watch growing up.
There's you talk about Charles Woodson and his speech, his time in Green Bay. So for those who don't know, my roommate at Colgate, Ben, his cousin's TJ Lang. So I got to know TJ when he was a young kid, but TJ and Ben's brother Josh were really close, and Josh moved to Green Bay, still lives there today, actually. But Josh would go to the games with TJ all the time and, be in the box, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Josh would wear this Charles Woodson Green Bay jersey. And after Woodson had left and gone back to the Raiders, they were in the player parking lot, going to TJ's truck or whatever. And Clinton Dix had walked out, saw Josh wearing the 21, which was now his number. And then he noticed that it had Woodson on the back. And, he says something like, hey, he's like, you got the wrong name on the back of the jersey or whatever. And Josh had a few drinks, and he's, pretty quick on his feet, and he turned back and he says, make the Pro Bowl and then we'll talk. And then Dix just like zipped it, walked away. Josh turned and was like, whoops, I didn't think that was like, I was thinking it. I didn't think I was going to say it, but it came out. And anyway, Woodson's been on this jersey awesome. Ever since, but okay.
Hey, listen,
you have a rant.
Not quite yet. I want to ask you about what the heck's going on in New York. 4 Giants players retired this week, and we talked about the COVID retirement. This not because of COVID.
No,
and there's a lot of chatter going on about Coach Joe Judge. Yeah, it's just a ridiculous name. It's like I feel like he should have a show about. I guess it's all about his ego, and there's this. They had that was their team that had a massive brawl, was it not?
Yeah, so
their team they had a massive brawl. That
was their running back. Kind of got hit at the end of one of the plays. You can see they only have uppers on, and I don't know if it's supposed to be thud or what it was, but he took a hit, went down, and then that started a huge kerfuffle with all the players. I heard Jones was involved, and
he was at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, which so he was used to. But
yeah, it's true. Well, anyway, I guess the coach was so upset, which I mean, whatever, that he gassed them. Like and again,
100-yard sprints and push-ups.
These are grown men, in dead heat of the summer. I don't know if that stuff works anymore, man. Mike Tomlin learned the hard way. Mike Tomlin's first year with Pittsburgh, a really short story. He pulled that trick on them, right? He's trying to make his mark. He's replacing Bill Cowher, and he came in gangbusters with a veteran team. They got Polamalu, they got Harrison, they got a team that just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And he came in and did the hardline stuff, and it worked at the beginning. I think they went like 7-2, 8-2, and then they ran out of gas. By the playoffs, they folded and they lost to Jacksonville in the first round of the wild card. And he knew his mistake. He's like, I worked them too hard. I pushed them too hard. These are grown-ass men. and he learned from that. And since then, I think it's been a good relationship with his players. This guy, Joe Judge, I mean, you got to try to learn from your coach's past. Like, you can't be doing that stuff. You might be upset. You know what? Send the guys home. There's other ways to do it than just gas them. Like, what are you doing? You don't gas pro players, man.
It's a tough. I
You
can't
don't
remember
gas
where Joe Judge comes from. Does he come from a college background or something? Anyway, you're
Isn't he
trying to
part of the Belichick tree.
Mm,
I wish we had our fact checker.
I know. Where is he? Oh, he's at his son's football practice. Come on, Curtis.
Come on, Curdy boy. I know.
No, I think, that's a tough thing to do, to gas grown men. Obviously, guys that were on sort of the fence as to what they were going to be doing. If they're trying to give us another shot, see what they have or whatever, you start getting these things and are like, I'm out. Like, I just don't, my body's just not made for this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I hear that the morale around the locker room and stuff like that is better. I don't think this is going to be a normal thing for him to do. If it is, then you're going to be in the same situation where just guys are just going to get burnt and they're not going to perform to the best of their abilities. I think if this is a one-off, sort of send a message, maybe it does bring them closer. All those, you sort of weeded out some of the weak and say, if you can't even handle that, then we're not going to war together. Who knows? It's a tactic that you don't see a lot in the NFL.
No.
See if it works. Ultimately, we're going to see on, week 1, if the Giants come out and they're playing well and they win, then nobody cares how you did it. Nobody cares about the sprints. As long as you win, nobody cares. That sort of is the cure for all. So let's just see what happens. If not, then it's going to be a big spotlight on the way he handled that situation. And, anybody who had something negative to say at that point will be substantiated.
I wanted to talk about Michael Thomas and what he's doing with the Saints on Twitter, and saying that they're trying to ruin his reputation. And this, I don't even know what nobody really knows what he's talking about. Is it in a minute or less? Is it a situation where he's trying to get himself out of town because they've lost their quarterback and he doesn't know who's going to be throwing the ball to him? And he's got a lot of football left. Maybe he wants to go somewhere where he's going to catch 100 balls and make another big contract. Like, what's in it for him to be doing this with the Saints?
In a minute or less, would you blame him?
Not a big fan of Jameis Winston, are you?
Jameis Winston and my
Tyson Hill,
hated players to watch.
Yeah.
Do you blame him? Do whatever you got to do, bud.
Is it me though, or is it clear as day that that's what he's trying to do?
There's no end in sight for the Saints at this point.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
Interesting. And it's too bad because the Saints roll out Alvin Kamara and they roll out a pretty decent offensive line. It's not like they're going to be awful, but clearly he wants out. That's my take on him. I'm glad you agree.
Good offensive line, a good running back. Those are ingredients for a great running game.
Well,
Michael Thomas is a receiver. So, the New York Giants Judge is running all his guys, gassing his guys. Thomas is going to do that during the game. They're going to see you go down the field, take double coverage down. That's 2 less guys we're going to block from a running standpoint.
Yeah.
Good luck. You're doing gas the whole time. Out. I want out of this situation is what he's thinking.
You know what? I was gonna rant a little bit about the Steelers because I've been reading a lot of Instagram stories on.
That's where we get our news, folks. Instagram stories.
Well, just people commenting. There's nothing, there's nothing substantial. Just I'm reading comments on stories, and it's just borderline ridiculous. Like, it's borderline ridiculous. They were 12-4. They were 11-0 at one point last year. Strength of schedule aside, COVID aside, 11-0 is 11-0 in the NFL. Did they get trounced in the wild card? You know what? Cleveland came out and beat them soundly. They were up 28-0. But a 12-4 season where you win your division is still a pretty good season. And when you look at Ben Roethlisberger and his history, when you look at Mike Tomlin never being worse than 8-8, I mean, every year the last 6-7 years, 10-6, 10-6, 11-5, 12-4. I mean, at some point, these guys need to get their due credit. I mean, it's ridiculous what I read about the Steelers. And now they basically field the exact same team that they had last year, but a better running back, the same receivers, 1 year older, Chase Claypool, 1 year older, a really great tight end who's looking to be a pretty solid guy from what we're hearing from camp in terms of his hands and his speed and his IQ. They roll out a defense that's deeper, that has now replacements, Melvin Ingram. Their secondary is still top notch, yet they're ranked like to finish under 500, like and not make the play. Like what planet are you guys on? Has nobody been watching them the last decade under Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger? Like, what is going on, guys? So why the Steeler hate? Is it because the organization is one of the best in all of pro sports and well respected? Do people just find that annoying? Because they are. Because when you look at the Rooneys, you can't find a damn thing wrong with them, people. They're good, quality, solid citizens of their community. I don't get it. Watch the Hall of Fame speeches and watch with the players. The first thing they mention are the Rooneys and the community and the family, the family that is built. I'm about to lose it. I'm so frustrated with this, Brock. I got to tell you, I'm sick and tired of reading the nonsense. If they go 4-12 this year, Ben Roethlisberger rides off into the sunset and he's the first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. But for them to be dumped on like this, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Can you please knock some sense into some people for me? Can you please do that?
Yeah.
I'm working on time.
I'm upset. 50,000 on my.
Just to be clear, you're not going to go on that Steeler rant. That's good. That's good. That's good. You're upset. I get it. I don't have to say anything. You did your rant.
Man.
You got your point across.
Thank you. I did want to ask you one more thing. We're not going to get into the NBA. You know what we'll do is we'll bring on Dan Case. I want to bring Case and Barbier back on and talk about some of the transactions. We can go into deep talk about what the Lakers have done, basically changed their whole roster, and what the Raptors are doing. But I just want to ask you about the Kyle Lowry trade. Sad, upset that he's dealt to Miami of all teams. What do you think?
I'm not sad that he dealt to Miami. Miami has a lot to be excited about from a Lowry standpoint. I think, well, they're added to my standpoint counter, but I think living in Miami versus living in Toronto over the wintertime, that's a huge plus.
Oh, I'm happy for the player. I'm happy for the player.
For him and the organization he's going to, I think is fine. What I love about it is that, he's not a guy who's leaving Toronto and cutting ties. Like, he's going to Miami, but he knows his home is in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Raptor for life, no matter where he ends up going. He's said that. So you can't just not be happy for him. Where we got in return, we got what's the goofball who's saying
Goran Dragic?
Yeah. Oh, Toronto wasn't my first choice. Hey, you weren't ours.
He's backpedaling huge. He understands that his Toronto can seal his fate. So now he's backpedaling, and he told the GM Bobby Webster, "I want to clarify what I said," and this, that, and the other. The exciting player, the other player in return, is Precious Achiuwa, and he was on the Raptors' radar last year in the draft. And if he was on the board at 22, they would have taken him over Malachi Flynn. He wasn't. So exciting young player, 6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan, big kid. He serves a need, that's for sure, because the Raptors, obviously their need this year was to down low. But just focusing on Lowry for a second, it's going to be tough. They play Miami a couple times a year. They end up usually seeing Miami in the playoffs. If Toronto turns it around, and they can very well be a playoff team this year. They're deep enough. They've got enough talent. If they put it all together, they could be a playoff team this year. It would kill me inside to have them lose to Lowry and Jimmy Butler. And let me tell you, what they've done in Miami is exceptional. Bringing him with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and some of the good pieces they have there. I mean, I'm happy for Lowry because he's going in a great situation. And, you're playing in Miami, suddenly you feel like you're 22 again because of the heat and all that. I'm just upset that Toronto didn't trade him at the deadline last year and get more in return. Like there was better options. So I don't know. Again, there's some inner workings that I'm sure we're not aware of with Masai and Bobby Webster, the GM, and Lowry. I'm sure maybe he just wanted to stick it out, but I don't know. I'm happy for him, the player. I thought Toronto could have gotten a little bit more back, but I am excited about their draft pick. We can talk about that some other time. But overall, I grade this trade like a D. It could be a C+ if Achua turns out to be a rotation guy, which he should be. Goran Dragic, I could see him disappearing soon. I think the Raptors will try and trade him, but I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I like Jimmy Butler. I like his story, so I like that Lowry's going with
Tough.
the field. Yeah, tough story, but they've also held their own with only one guy before. Not that Lowry is any schmuck, but he's older, so he's got a lot of miles on his body. So hopefully he does bring them what they need to be competitive and sort of make the run if that's what they're trying to do. But ultimately, like you said, should it have happened at the trade deadline? I would have thought so. I think if he was ever thinking of coming back or anything with Toronto, then you would have done it there and get some guys back. I'm just throwing it up there. So they were down 4-1. It was 4-2. I'm assuming it's 4-3 now. That's the Jays hosting the Angels. So my cup just went off for those who aren't watching the video. Anyway, I'm happy for Lowry. I'm excited to see what happens in the near future with the draft picks stuff the Raptors have, but that's stuff we can talk about for another show.
Yes, sir.
Before we get out of here,
what's up?
I'm going to ask you one thing. It was a meme, I think, or whatever. Anyway, it was something I saw online. It was a situational play for in the NFL. You're down 5 points. It's Randy Moss is your receiver versus Deion Sanders. The safety falls. There's no safety help. The ball's in the end zone. Last play of the game. Who comes down with that ball?
Between Sanders and Moss?
Yeah.
Moss. Just sheer. He's bigger. The receivers were bigger back then. Or after Sanders' prime years, the receivers are much bigger. Moss. No offense to Deion, but
no, I agree. I think it was Charlie who posted it online, and he was like, Deion, no doubt about it. And I thought, I have to disagree. I have to disagree. Moss is my number one receiver on a list. If you were to say, who are your top receiver? He's my number one receiver. And he's also the guy, if you build an offense or you get one receiver to start an offense, it's him. You don't even need a good quarterback. You just got a guy who could throw 70 yards in the air, and this kid will go get it.
And look, you talk about measurables. When Sanders, you don't think about vertical. You're thinking about he's quick as hell. He's got good hands. He's got super football IQ. But vertical isn't one of the things that come to mind with Sanders. I think when I think about vertical, when it comes to safeties or cornerbacks, I think of Rod Woodson. I think of other guys, but not him. Ed Reed, like guys who can get up there. Polamalu. I don't think of him.
Safeties. That's different from a corner standpoint.
I can't think of any really super duper athletic corners. Charles Woodson was a great corner, converted to safety.
Who?
Darrell
Revis.
Again, are you thinking vertical with these guys? I mean, again, ball hawks, good hands, strong.
Richard Sherman used to be athletic until
Richard Sherman might be a good fit there. He was, that one play with Crabtree, he needed to get up there. But no, I'm going to give Moss the vertical, man. Moss
Sherman can't hit, though, right?
Sherman can't hit. He can't do anything right now.
Try to take him. He couldn't take a door down.
Yeah, poor
guy. On that note, we are going out to an oldie but a goodie.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it's nice. If I ruled the world. Thanks for tuning in. It was really nice to have Pep back in the shop. And let's get together in person moving forward. We got to find a restaurant, a spot to do this from. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Any last words? Shout out to your mom.
Love you, Mom. Happy birthday.
Feeling like life is over. These things like it's over. The world's hot. My son got knocked. Evidently, it's elementary. They want us all gone eventually. Trooping out of state for a plate. Knowledge, if coke was cooked without the goblins, you all have the top dollars. Imagine everybody flashing, fashion, designer clothes, lacing your click up with diamond rolls. Your people holding dough, no parole, no rubbers. Going raw, imagine law with no undercovers. Just some thoughts for the mind. I take a glimpse into time, watch the print read, the world is mine.
If I rule the world,
Imagine that.
I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls.
Could it be, if you could be mine, we both shine.
If I rule the world,
Still living for today, in these last days until the way to be paradise life relaxing. Black, Latino, and Anglo-Saxon. Amani exchange the range. Cash, lost tribe of Shabazz. Free at last, brand new whips to crash. Then we laugh in the illa path. The villa houses for the crew, how we do. Trees for breakfast. Dime sexes have been stretches. So many years of depression make me vision the better living. Type of place to raise kids in. Opening eyes to the lies. History's told foul, but I'm as wise as the old owl. Plus the gold child, seeing things like I was controlling. Click bowling. Tricking 6 digits on kicks and still holding. Trips to Paris, I civilized every savage. Give me one shot, I turn tripe life to lavish. Political prisoner, set free, stress free. No work release, purple M3s and jet skis. Feel the wind breeze in West Indies. I think Coretta Scott King, mayor of the cities, and reverse things to Willies. It sound foul, but every girl I meet to go downtown. I'd open every cell in Attica, send them to Africa.
I rule the world.
Imagine that.
I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls.
Could it be, if you could be mine, we both shine.
If I rule the world,
Still living for today, in these last days
then
and
we'll
times.
walk right up to the sun, hand in hand. We'll walk right up to the sun. We won't land. We'll walk right up to the sun, hand in hand. We'll walk right up to the sun. We won't land.
You love to hear the story, how the thugs live and worry. Duck down in car seats, heat's mandatory. Running from Jake, getting chased, hunger for papes. These are the breaks, many mistakes, go down out of state. Wait, I had to let it marinate. We carry weight, trying to get laced. Flip the ace, stack the safe. Millionaire plan to keep the gap with the cock camera. Making moves in Atlanta, back and forth scrambler. Cause you can have all the chips, be poor or rich, still nobody want a nigga have a shit. If I rule the world and everything in it, sky's the limit. I push the U45 infinite. It wouldn't be no such thing as jealousies or beef felony. Strictly living longevity to the destiny I thought I'd never see, but reality struck. Better find out before your time's out. What the
If
fuck?
I rule the world,
Imagine that.
I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls.
Could it be, if you could be mine, we both shine.
If I rule the world,
Still living for today, in these last days and times.
if I rule the world,
Imagine that.
I free all my sons. I love them, baby. Black diamonds and pearls.
Could it be, if you could be mine, we both shine.
If I rule the world,
Still living for today, in these last days and times.
if I rule the world.